Hey everybody, it's Mattie here with Altcoin Buzz. Hope you're having a wonderful Monday and a terrific start to your week. We are talking yet again about one of my favorites personally, the Joe Rogan Podcast, and his mega guest that he had on, Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, the CEO of Square Payment Systems. He's also very much involved in the Cash App. And that segued into a great discussion about Bitcoin, about the internet, about the future of money. So we're going to take a look at that, get a whole bunch of different perspectives, including our own here on altcoinbuzz.io. We're also going to take a look at some of the performance that has been surrounding Litecoin lately that may or may not be tied to this upcoming halving that's coming up. So the block reward is halving, but that's still over 180 days away. Nonetheless, people are starting to chatter about that. So we'll take a look at that as well as what some of the analysts are saying in the space. We're also going to take a look at some of the other top performing coins. Litecoin is really at the top of the list in a week that's seen either flat days or retracement days. Briefly, we're going to touch on news out of Venezuela, the geopolitics, the world of all of that international intrigue seems to be meshing with the world of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin policy. So we'll take a look at that. We'll also take a look at something that we did recently, a conference overview piece. And if you've not already checked it out, we're going to point you in the direction of some work that we've done this past week. But let's begin here, not on altcoinbuzz.io. We'll come back to Luke's article in a moment, but at this Joe Rogan podcast, it's number 1236, again with Jack Dorsey. And I know we just discussed Joe's recent guest. He had Killer Mike on, I believe it was a few days ago, maybe a week ago at this point, and they were kind of talking about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, but let's be fair, it wasn't exactly an educated discussion. They were both talking about, and I say that respectfully, but they were both talking about the fact that, yeah, it's interesting, but we don't really know anything about it, and it's something I'd like to learn more about type of thing. So not only, in my opinion, is Jack a much bigger, a much more prominent guest than, the Killer Mikes of the world, to be candid, the CEO of Twitter, and he's got a whole bunch of other feathers in his cap as well. But he said very specifically that they segued off of this discussion that they were having about the Cash App, and Rogan asked if it was going to support anything other than Bitcoin. Not unfortunately, I shouldn't say that, but Jack responded by saying, no, they're only supporting Bitcoin for the time being, but then that launched into a whole tangent of a philosophical discussion about the native currency of the internet, how Jack thinks Bitcoin is going to eventually very officially gain that title just because of all that it's been through already, the fact that it's proven itself. So this was a great 10-minute discussion at the end of this podcast. Check it out. Again, the last 10 minutes of podcast 1236. Let's get some official quotes because they were some big ones. And I think to have somebody like Jack in our corner as a champion that's at least a supporter of the idea philosophically of cryptocurrency is a great thing. So taking a look at Luke's article here, Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey believes in Bitcoin as native internet currency. So Jack Dorsey had an interesting 2-hour interview with Rogan, a popular Joe Rogan experience. You can read more about that. And he's the CEO again of both Twitter and Square. It seems that he became a Bitcoin fan after Square, the very popular Cash App, launched Bitcoin capabilities. Nowadays, Dorsey personally believes that Bitcoin will become the internet's single currency. Let's take a look specifically at some of what he said, some of his quotes. Number one, I believe the internet will have a native currency, and I don't know if it's Bitcoin. I think it will be Bitcoin given all the tests it's been through and the principles behind it, how it was created. It was something that was born on the internet. It was developed on the internet, was tested on the internet, and it is of the internet. He also talked about Bitcoin in the Cash App. He said, quote, the reason we enabled the purchasing of Bitcoin within the Cash App is we wanted to learn about the technology and we wanted to put ourselves out there and take some risks. We're the first publicly traded company to actually offer it as a service. We're the first publicly traded company to talk to the SEC about Bitcoin and what that means, and it made us uncomfortable. We had to really understand what was going on, and that was critical and important. And then from a more macro perspective, talking about cryptocurrency becoming a global phenomenon, quote, we would love to see something become a global currency. It enables more access. It allows us to serve more people. It allows us to move much faster around the world. We thought we were going to start with how you can use it transactionally, but we noticed that people were treating it more like an asset, like a virtual gold. And we wanted to just make that easy, just the simplest way to buy and sell Bitcoin. So again, it's only my opinion, but I think this is really one of the most prominent guests you can have to be talking about this kind of thing. It also caught the attention of Changpeng Zhao of Binance, who said, couple more reasons I like at Jack, pushing native internet currency crypto, and he doesn't accept credit cards yet, talking about the Bitcoin Cash app there. So if you haven't watched the podcast, it seems like every couple of days I'm plugging a new Joe Rogan podcast. I really enjoy them personally. The whole discussion was very good. They talked about internet censorship and the role of social media in terms of this new emerging paradigm that we're experiencing in this world. But if you don't want to get a sense of the rest of that, just check out the last 10 minutes of podcast 1236 to get that discussion about cryptocurrency, about Bitcoin, about the Cash App. I found it very illuminating myself. You can read about that as well on Cointelegraph.com. Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey still believes Bitcoin will be the internet's currency. Also here on ccn.com, Twitter CEO promotes Bitcoin and some other stuff as well that they cover. Okay, in other news today, we have this performance that we've noticed in Litecoin, and whether or not that's related to the upcoming halving, maybe not, but it's been an exception lately in a week of really kind of a lackluster price action. So the Litecoin block mining reward halves every 840,000 blocks. The coin reward is going to decrease from 25 to 12.5 coins. You can watch an educational video by the Litecoin Association, which is right here, explaining it in more detail. Now, we don't have to concern ourselves with all of the technicals, although if you want to brush up on them, they're all here for you to explore, for you to study. Again, what you really have to understand is that the block reward is going down from 25 to 12.5, and that's happening in 184 days. So there's this hypothesis really that because of this, there's going to be a shifting in the market equilibrium, a shift in the demand and supply curve, right? Because this is going to make effectively Litecoin something that is more scarce. And there's some other trends as well that have been noted. But here, Litecoin community looks forward to surge in prices after implementation of halving in 186 days. That's not necessarily something that is guaranteed, by the way, right? This is by no means something that we can expect as a science economically. It's just really a speculation, and perhaps even less than that. It's just a possibility. But there are some interesting precedents and some patterns that other people have noted. So for example, at Moon Overlord here, the Litecoin halving is quickly approaching. Litecoin bottomed approximately 200 days before its halving in 2015. We are almost exactly 200 days away from the next Litecoin halving. And Litecoin peaked 2+ years after its halving. If it follows a similar path this time, the peak will be in 2021. Personally, I don't think that history repeats itself with these explicit patterns. I don't think that's something that we can rely on. However, that being said, I think that's a very interesting observation. Maybe on the whole, generally speaking, in broad strokes, we could see some similar movements. You can read about that here as well. Analyst, upcoming Litecoin halving could ultimately send LTC surging. This is on newsbtc.com. Again, the disclaimer, the caveat, this is only one person's opinion. Take it with a grain of salt and take a look at some of the other ideas and some of really the counter arguments out there as well. Don't base your financial decisions on this. But nonetheless, what is sort of objectively true is that Litecoin price has outperformed other cryptocurrencies this week. Litecoin technical analysis for the 3rd of February 2019 here on blocked.com. We analyzed the key levels for Litecoin after it records the largest increase for top cryptocurrencies over the past 7 days. So you can take a look at that if you're interested. We will link to that. There's some similar arguments being made about the Bitcoin halving, which may trigger price growth, says another prominent trader, but that's a little bit further away. And look, guys, as always, there are some dissenting voices. What's really interesting is that you have dissenting voices in the form of Charlie Lee. So he's actually saying that, look, guys, don't get too exciting here. He's saying that 2020's block halving of Bitcoin and the one that's coming up sooner for Litecoin won't affect their prices. So he had this pretty in-depth interview here with Crypto Insider. If you want to take a look at what he had to say, this is a long quote. I'm not going to read it all, but basically says, look, it's hard to predict the price. And just because we've had these correlations in the past, just because we've had certain patterns in the past, it doesn't mean that they're going to repeat themselves, and there's no guarantee. So I think that's a pretty honest approach from Charlie Lee. Again, he's still under fire by many people for really selling off his Litecoin at the peak when it was up over $300, but I don't really necessarily blame him for that. I think that's to the extent that he's still involved in the Litecoin Foundation, to the extent that he's still such an integral part of the community and of the project, I think he's a good guy to have at the helm of the ship. But again, objectively, all we can really say is that Litecoin has been performing well. I don't know if that's because the halving has been at the top of investors' minds. It still seems like it's a little far off for that to be the cause. But nonetheless, you can take a look here on Cointelegraph.com. Top 5 crypto performers overview: Litecoin, Binance Coin, Ripple, Bitcoin, and Tron. Now, we are running out of time here, unfortunately, for today, but there's so much happening in the world of Venezuela. Tensions seem to be mounting. It's a very interesting and precarious geopolitical situation that's forming. As always, there is a cryptocurrency angle and a policy angle. And if you guys want to explore it further, check this article out on news.bitcoin.com. We're not going to go through it all, but I will tease it. Venezuela's new cryptocurrency rules enter into force. The decree establishing a legal framework for cryptocurrencies in Venezuela has entered into force. It contains 63 articles, including rules for the purchase, sale, use, distribution, and exchange of cryptocurrencies and related products. It also mandates a registration system and details audit procedures, penalties for non-compliance, and how mining equipment can be confiscated. So it really looks like the crackdown there is underway as more and more instability seems to mount in that country. It looks like they're trying to protect the system that is already in place by implementing some of these penalties and some of these rules, for better or for worse. You can also read about similar news here on Bitcoinist.com. Venezuela breaks Bitcoin trading record again as new regulations become law. Venezuela set a new record for the amount it traded for Bitcoin last week, showing cryptocurrencies continue to appeal in the face of ongoing political turmoil. So it's fascinating to see how the more they really clamp down, the more they try to regulate a system and even outlaw it, the negative effect is taking place really in actuality. The numbers just keep growing. 17.1 billion bolivars for Bitcoin. You can read more about that here, but it's just like a weird inverse relationship, and you can see that as people have less and less confidence in their monetary system, in their institutions, in their politics especially, that seems to be the natural proclivity. People seem to move toward Bitcoin at least and to cryptocurrency. So check that out. Very interesting piece here on Bitcoinist.com. And finally today, we're going to leave you guys with a bit of a teaser. If you haven't checked out our coverage of this event, this conference recently, we want to make sure it's on your radar. So at Altcoin Buzz IO tweeted perspectives of some of the most incredible people working today in varied sectors of the crypto space. Watch the full video here. If you would like to see additional questions we asked and fun B-roll footage, drop a comment below. We're talking about this piece that we made. It's been out for a few days now, but an amazing assortment of different guests that we were able to interview. We picked the brains of a lot of different people at the Binance Blockchain Week. So many of our colleagues in the space, many of some contributors that we've worked with, both on YouTube and on the website. So do check this out if you've not already. We've picked all kinds of different brains. We've asked a lot of different cool questions. Again, the video is Binance Blockchain Week, crypto adoption, STOs, backed, ETFs, gaming, 2019 goals, and top 3 crypto coins. Check it out if you haven't had a chance already. And with that, everybody, a lot of news today. So as always, do be sure you're following Altcoin Buzz and Altcoin Buzz News on Twitter for the latest. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Telegram. You know our website, altcoinbuzz.io. Our last video is here for you to check out if you've not already. Best of luck if you choose to invest on this Monday. I wish you, however, more than anything, a happy Monday, a happy start to your week. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, smash the thumbs up. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And we do hope to see you again soon in our next piece. Take care.